We're here with Zeki Istanbul at the West Awards evening. Thanks for joining us, Zeki.
Thank you.
We chatted last year in July 2024 in Llandudno at that friendly.
Yes.
You've been the hardest guy to track down since then. It's harder to get an interview of you than most of the West First team. So thanks for joining us. The dust has settled on the 2024-25 season.
Yeah.
How do you reflect on it? What are your lasting thoughts on that?
It's difficult because obviously the way it ended was really frustrating because we felt like we should have won that game. We thought for 70 minutes we were in control, we were a better team. But then obviously to lose it, you go away really disappointed. But obviously that was a couple of weeks ago, and you reflect, and it has actually been a really positive season, full of big moments and highs, certainly lows, lots of lows. So overall it's been a mixed season, but if anything, it's just fueled the fire, and I think we're all just ready to go again.
Yeah, you feel that fire for next season?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
What things, if you could put your finger on anything that would get us over the line next season, what would you say those things would be?
I think a big thing has been consistency. I think we've struggled at times to go on a good run and beat teams where really we should be beating regularly. We found that difficult. So, but it's a difficult league. So there's no easy games. Every game is a battle, and you win
Think
games.
it's going to be easier next year, or is that
No,
hard to
absolutely
say?
not easy. No, but I think because we're a new team and you're coming into a new club, and it's quite a lot of pressure, and it is exciting, but it's difficult. It's hard. Whereas we're a year on into that, I think we're going to keep the vast majority of the boys. Maybe add one or a couple, which always helps. You try and improve, don't you?
Yeah.
But no, I think we'll be ready from the start of the season, and really looking forward to it.
And for you personally, how much have you enjoyed your time at the club?
Yeah, it's top. It is top. And so obviously we had a good couple of years at Cheadle and then to sort of, when that ended the way it did, you kind of thinking, well, that's probably it. Really, it's going to take something very exciting to get you going again. And obviously when I spoke to Marshy and Yard about coming here and helping out, it just gets the juices going, doesn't it? It's like,
Absolutely, yeah.
the fans help, the ambition of the club, being a player here a long time ago, that, you know, it definitely helps, and you want to come down. And also I think the big thing this year, and something that I probably didn't realise at the time, but when you're together with a group fighting for the same thing, going in the same direction, like with Marshy, Yarwood, Haggis, certainly Piggo over the last couple of years, it's like you need that. It's like that community. It's, regardless of what you're going through, coming here on a Saturday, it's like therapy. You know, you're meeting 2-3 times a week. You might not necessarily be the best of mates, but you speak to them more than your best mates because you're involved in something. And to stop that and to not have that is really difficult.
I think everyone can relate to that. I think that's such me. I think when we spoke this time last year, it was before you became a West legend. People know you now at West, they recognise your face, you've got a bit of a chant going, but how would you kind of sum up your role in the club? Like, what is your role in that coaching staff?
So ultimately, I see myself as a first team coach, so deliver training sessions and warm up the lads in the morning, help prepare the players for the game, do a little bit of refereeing as well, which the lads do not like. But I think because there's such a talented group of players, I just see my role as a cog in the wheel and to try and create a really good environment for those guys to kick on. That's how I see it, really.
Do you ever see yourself as a first team manager at this level? Like if someone came in for Paul Marshall from a much higher level, would you be kind of throwing your hat into the ring to be West first team manager, or is that, you know?
That's difficult to say. I mean, it'd be great in one respect.
I mean, we know Paul Marshall is staying forever anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to, I think, to do something like that without Marshy and Yarwood and Haggis and that community. So obviously having lost Piggo, it doesn't quite feel the same without him. So to kind of go off on your own, it wouldn't feel right. I do feel at the moment part of the team, and I think a big thing at this level is knowing the players.
Yeah. And
one thing they are brilliant at is they've got a contact, a network of players, and I think I would struggle with that. So although I could definitely do the coaching side and put a philosophy across and try and communicate that to players, I don't think that's.
And what would be that philosophy? What if you can put that across the players? What is that philosophy or style that you'd like to put across?
Obviously winning. Yeah. That's important. But I think so because of my background, I've come from a development background, working with children at an academy level. So it is about long-term development, even at this age. And I think the last thing the players want on a Tuesday and Thursday evening is they don't want me to stop the session, stand still, listen to me. This is what we do. It's about creating that environment for players to feel free to try to practice We've got core principles that we try and stick to, but again, it's not the easiest because of the conditions and the teams that you play against. But ultimately, it's getting a group of lads that really want to be here, that can express themselves. And again, if you think about football, it is about the players and some of the highs that we've had this season, some of the big moments, have not necessarily come straight off the training ground. If you think about Jimmy Moore's wonder goal at 3-0 when we're 3-0 down in the last minute of the game, there's not a coach in the world that would be telling your centre half to shoot from 35 yards out in the last minute. So you've got to encourage that sort of that maverick and that the players to express themselves, because that's what gets everything going. That's what we're here for. So it's not about this is what we do all of the time, and if you don't, you're not doing it right. It's about, can we do those, softly put those principles in play about what would we do when we've got the ball, when we haven't got the ball, how can we win it back? But ultimately we want good players to come and play football how they think the game should be played.
And do supporters kind of play a part in that, when some players might having a big crowd might help them to express themselves or might hinder them to express themselves?
Well, and absolutely, because you think about pressure moments at any level. If there's people watching you, it's nerve-wracking, isn't it? But one thing about the crowd and the environment here is that it never, even when it's not gone quite to plan, it's just felt really, really supportive. So we got beat at Lower Breck in the playoff final. We took over the ground. It was like walking off, and it's almost like we won. The fans were incredible. And that's been the same all the season. I remember at North Shields we took a couple of coach loads to North Shields. And the support and the sound and the chanting, it's amazing. So I think to be a player, because obviously when I played here there was a few people, it was nothing like this. But I mean, I always had that community, that feel, but it's on another level. And it's
have
elevated.
you personally, in what has been a difficult year, I mean a great year in some ways, but a difficult year, losing your friend and coach, to have that support, I'm guessing it's
massive. I think the first game was Bury away, wasn't it? And it was tough. It was really, really difficult, because we knew obviously Piggo was poorly, and he hadn't been himself season obviously, but he kept it to himself almost and sort of just plodded along. But then obviously when he did pass, it was a really difficult time. But then you go to Bury, for example, and the banner's there and you're chanting his name and they're doing a minute's applause. It's like, for us, for Howard, Marsh, myself, I guess it was tough. It was like, really comforting in a way. Because obviously he wasn't here that long, so for the club to sort of offer that support, and I know his family have been down as well since, and they feel it as well. It's and I've got to say, Chiltown have been superb as well in that.
Absolutely.
Because he's a legend there. So and football is about family and community and being together and doing things together. It's a team sport, and obviously Piggo is a massive part of our team.
Absolutely, and
always will be.
Yeah, absolutely. In our interview last year, you mentioned that you're a West player, and it took me by surprise because it predates the West kind of days in the counties, which probably a lot of supporters don't know much about. Can you tell us a little bit about your time as a player at West and what the club was like at that time? So
it was a lot different. I think we had 4 or 5 men's teams. I think we had 4 men's teams and an under-21s team, and I was young enough then, so going back a bit, to play for the under-21s, and it's brilliant because it was in the Manchester League. It's just an amateur football club with really good facilities. I think Rob Turley was a big driver and really ambitious in pushing the club on into this level, into the counties. But it's great coming down and seeing familiar faces. So for example, today I saw Shea, you see Faz every now and again, Danny Idle, who's on the board, Monica, who used to serve us hot dogs back in 15-20 years ago. So it's like I say, it was very different then. Now it's a sleeping giant almost at this level. Whereas back then it was a good amateur football club, but it always had that community feel.
Feel like a nice kind of cycle for you.
Really nice. Yeah, absolutely, really nice. And it not home, I don't want to say that, but it definitely feels like this is where I want to be and continue.
I was going to say, how would it feel to win something with West, but I'm going to ask, have you actually won anything with West?
With the under-21s, yeah. So with the under-21s, we had a really good team under Danny Idale's leadership, we were really good. And I think we were going for a treble. I think we ended up losing one cup competition, we ended up winning double. So
nice.
So I've actually won some silverware a long time ago. And
what position?
I was a centre back, which is where the nickname Zeckenbauer has come from.
I see, right. Because Paul Marshall and Yarwood registered as players last season, is that not something you fancy yourself? No,
I've given it a good go today on this tournament. I think out of possession, I knew where to be and what to do, but just the legs couldn't quite do it, and I've ended up pulling my hamstring.
You touched on some names there, but for some West fans, I think the name Rob Turley because there's a stand, and Andy Nelson, they're kind of names that people know, but they don't know much about. What can you tell us about them and kind of how important they are to setting the club on the path that we're on at the moment?
Well, Rob Turley, absolutely. So I ended up going to college with his son, and his son it sort of got me down here. It was only at Parswood, so down the road. But he was brilliant coming in. He was really ambitious. He was a legend here. He was a top goal scorer, wasn't he? It still is, I believe. Does he hold the record for?
Well, if you look at the stats, they're kind of like Pele numbers, but it's kind of mysterious past.
He was a top goal scorer, but really ambitious. And then I think Andy Nelson came in a little bit after to manage the first team. And at that point, where I was going with my coaching career, I was working weekends, so I remember playing sort of sporadically for Andy and seeing Morano play. So one thing I did notice was, as a young coach, his sessions were really organised, really clear, and you wanted to be there. You felt as a player it was good. So that was my real probably first taste of top class coaching, and it was obviously great to see him pre-season.
Absolutely. It's a little part of you wish you could kind of fast forward your career to be playing for West now.
Oh yeah. Imagine playing then at centre half with some of the players we did with thousands of fans watching you. Yeah, that would be special. But I'm happy doing the warm up now. You've got
your song. You've got your.
I've got a little bit of a.
You're a West legend.
Yeah, but no, these players now are much more talented than I was. So
I'll let you say that.
Leave it to them.
Right. Well, enjoy the rest of the awards, and thanks for your time, mate. Cheers. We'll see you pre-season.
Thank you.